Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes: JPMorgan Asset Management says China remains irreplaceable. In post-COVID China, the masks are off, but Xi's tight control is here to stay. Hong Kong to name ex-KPMG China head Carlson Tong to chair stock exchange. Hong Kong stocks rally as dovish central banks inspire rate cut hopes. Asian stocks gain on rate outlook, eyes on U.S. jobs, markets wrap. JPMorgan Asset Management says China remains irreplaceable. Bloomberg. JPMorgan Asset Management, JPMAM, will continue to hire in China as it seeks growth in the country's asset management industry. JPMAM China CEO Desiree Wang said the company will focus on hiring research and distribution talent. JPMorgan has invested heavily in the asset management sector in China, gaining full control of its China Mutual Fund joint venture last year and buying a stake in China Merchants Bank Co.'s asset management subsidiary. In post-COVID China, the masks are off, but Xi's tight control is here to stay. CNN. China's annual meetings of the rubber-stamp National Legislature and China's top political advisory body, known as the Two Sessions, are providing a window into increasing control and opaqueness of the political system under President Xi Jinping. Beijing sent a strong signal ahead of the meetings by announcing that it was scrapping the annual press conference led by the premier, a 3-decades-old political tradition that was a key landmark of the meeting. Observers see this as one more move for Xi to cement his control over the official narrative. The press conferences have in the past provided moments for premiers to inject their own persona and views, providing rare insight into thinking or even debates among China's elite leaders. The axing of the premier's press conference reduces opportunities for journalists to ask questions of delegates or government officials. The nature of those encounters also has changed, as delegates are widely seen by reporters as much less willing to say too much in the current political climate. Heavy security measures also are in place for the meetings, with facial recognition scanners and police checkpoints. Hong Kong to name ex-KPMG China head Carlson Tong to chair stock exchange. Bloomberg. Hong Kong stocks rally as dovish central banks inspire rate cut hopes. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong stocks rose as global central banks are expected to ease monetary conditions this year. The Hang Seng Index gained 1.1% to 16,402.90. The Tech Index strengthened 1.5% and the Shanghai Composite Index added 0.2%. Asian stocks gain on rate outlook, eyes on U.S. jobs, markets wrap. Yahoo! Asian shares have risen on dovish signals from the U.S. and European central banks ahead of U.S. jobs data due later on Friday. The yen has also rallied. Markets will be watching the latest U.S. employment data closely. The consensus forecast is 200,000 new jobs, but a wide range of estimates means the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield could swing dramatically, according to Andrew Brenner, head of international fixed income for NatAlliance Securities. Hong Kong government releases draft new national security law. Al Jazeera. The Hong Kong government has released the draft of a new national security law for the Chinese territory. The draft bill includes new laws on treason, espionage, external interference, state secrets, and sedition. Those found guilty of treason could face sentences of up to life imprisonment, while sedition sentences have been increased to 7 years. The bill also allows police to detain suspects for 2 weeks before charging them. The legislation is likely to face little opposition in the Legislative Council, which is dominated by pro-Beijing candidates. The national security law imposed by Beijing in 2020 has been criticized for eroding Hong Kong's freedoms. Foxconn to shed light on China's tech manufacturing sector as iPhone headwinds mount. Bloomberg. Foxconn's earnings report will provide insights into the outlook for China's tech sector, which has been affected by the country's slowing economy. Apple's iPhone sales in China fell 24% in the first 6 weeks of the year, putting pressure on Foxconn, which derives half of its revenue from Apple. Foxconn has also shifted some iPhone assembly to India due to growing restrictions on China's access to chip technology. Meanwhile, battery maker Contemporary Amperex technology is expected to benefit from the resilient electric vehicle market in China. Cathay Pacific Airways is also expected to gain from post-pandemic travel demand. Huawei chip breakthrough used tech from 2 U.S. gear suppliers. Bloomberg. Chinese chipmaker SMIC and its partner Huawei used equipment from U.S. companies Applied Materials and Lam Research, among others, to manufacture 7nm chips for smartphones last year, according to anonymous insiders. The revelation highlights China's continued reliance on foreign technology to produce cutting-edge semiconductors, despite government support for domestic chip design and manufacturing. He doesn't like to be alone. Why Rupert Murdoch is traipsing down the aisle a 5th time. The Sydney Morning Herald. Rupert Murdoch is set to marry his 5th wife, Russian-born retired molecular biologist Elena Zhukova. Friends of the couple expect them to marry in the coming months. Murdoch's friends suggest that he doesn't like to be alone, and this could be the reason for his decision to marry again, especially since stepping back from his business. Zhukova is a fiercely independent woman who has maintained her Jewish faith throughout her life. She has had previous experience with the business and power world, having previously been married to Russian billionaire Alexander Zhukov. Zhukova and Murdoch were introduced by Murdoch's 3rd ex-wife, Wendy Dang, who is friends with Zhukova's daughter, Dasha. The couple is unlikely to have any more children together, given their ages, but if Zhukova outlives Murdoch, she could be set to inherit a significant amount of money, given Murdoch's history of signing prenuptial agreements. Less savings, more worries, financial anxiety weighs heavy for Hong Kong women. South China Morning Post. A survey conducted by the Hong Kong Young Women's Christian Association, YWCA, has found that over 60% of retired women in Hong Kong do not have any retirement savings. The survey revealed that women in Hong Kong tend to save less but need more money when they reach retirement age. Women in Hong Kong often quit their jobs or take part-time roles to take on caring responsibilities, which puts them at a higher risk of not being protected by official retirement schemes. The median monthly salary for women in Hong Kong is 27% less than men. HK publishes Article 23 draft as it fast-tracks new security law. Bloomberg. The Hong Kong government has published a draft of a new security law aimed at safeguarding the Chinese state. The legislation seeks to create new offenses such as insurrection and external interference, and update colonial-era laws concerning state security. The law is expected to work in tandem with the 2020 national security law imposed by Beijing to crack down on dissent. Critics have raised concerns about the law's potential impact on free speech and human rights. Global markets. Asia shares strike 7-month high ahead of U.S. jobs data. Yahoo! Asian stocks reached a 7-month high on Friday due to investors expecting an easing cycle led by major central banks. This comes after the European Central Bank, ECB, announced a potential interest rate cut in June and comments from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell that were consistent with the U.S. rate path. The Bank of Japan could exit negative interest rates this month, and the yen has increased in value as a result. U.S. Army intelligence analyst charged with leaking classified info to China in exchange for $42,000. CNN. A U.S. Army Sergeant, Corbian Schultz, has been charged with leaking classified information to China in exchange for $42,000. Prosecutors allege that Schultz repeatedly sent sensitive documents about advanced U.S. weapons to a foreign national claiming to live in Hong Kong. Schultz, who served as an intelligence analyst with the 506th Infantry Battalion, has been charged with conspiracy to obtain and disclose national defense information, exporting technical data related to defense articles without a license, conspiracy to export defense articles without a license, and bribery of a public official. Another service member, David Franklin Slater, was charged with leaking classified information just 3 days prior to Schultz. Lionel Messi in starting lineup for Inter Miami against Nashville SC in CONCACAF Champions Cup. Yahoo! Lionel Messi will be in the starting lineup for Inter Miami in their CONCACAF Champions Cup match against Nashville SC. Messi's availability has been in question due to fatigue, but he has played all 90 minutes in Miami's 3 regular season MLS matches. The team's coach, Gerardo Martino, has said that Messi wants to play in every game he can. Messi will also have a busy schedule in March, with 7 matches in just over 3 weeks, including 2 friendlies with the Argentine national team. Hong Kong's new national security bill includes stiff penalties and more power to suppress dissent. The Toronto Star. The Hong Kong government has unveiled a new national security bill that proposes harsh punishments, including life imprisonment, for offences such as treason and insurrection. The bill expands the government's power to crack down on challenges to its rule and comes after Beijing imposed a similar law 4 years ago that effectively eradicated dissent. Critics have raised concerns that the legislation will further erode civil liberties in Hong Kong and make its legal framework more similar to that of mainland China. The bill is expected to pass easily in the legislature, which is filled with Beijing loyalists. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your favorite observer from the 6 dimensions. Today, we have a diverse range of news stories to discuss, so let's jump right in. First, JPMorgan Asset Management reaffirms its commitment to China, highlighting the country's importance in the global asset management industry. This shows that China remains irreplaceable in terms of growth potential. Moving on, China's annual meetings of the national legislature shed light on President Xi Jinping's increasing control over the political system. The cancellation of the premier's press conference and increased security measures are clear indications of the tightening grip on power. In Hong Kong, Carlson Tong, the former chairman of KPMG China, is expected to become the next chairman of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. This appointment comes at a challenging time for the exchange, with trading volumes struggling and IPOs remaining subdued. On the stock market front, Hong Kong stocks rallied due to expectations of global central banks easing monetary conditions. This positive sentiment also spread to other Asian markets, with shares rising and the yen strengthening. In other news, the Hong Kong government has released a draft of a new national security law, which includes harsher penalties for offences such as treason and sedition. Critics are concerned about the potential impact on civil liberties and free speech in Hong Kong. Shifting gears to technology, Foxconn's earnings report will provide insights into the outlook for China's tech sector, which has been affected by the country's slowing economy. Apple's declining iPhone sales in China and growing restrictions on China's access to chip technology have put pressure on Foxconn. In international affairs, it has been revealed that Chinese chipmaker SMIC and Huawei used equipment from U.S. companies to manufacture cutting-edge semiconductors. This highlights China's continued reliance on foreign technology despite efforts to promote domestic chip manufacturing. And now, for a little celebrity gossip, media mogul Rupert Murdoch is set to marry his 5th wife, Russian-born retired molecular biologist Elena Zhukova. It seems that Murdoch doesn't like to be alone, and his decision to marry again might be driven by companionship. Lastly, a survey conducted in Hong Kong reveals that over 60% of retired women do not have any retirement savings. This highlights the financial challenges faced by women in Hong Kong, who tend to save less and have lower salaries compared to men. That's all the news we have for today, folks. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts on these stories. What are your ideas? Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.